Saving 100k is easy. I would know because I've hit it by age 24 and no, I didn't come from money. Okay, so you may be thinking, who does this girl think she is? Well, let me explain. I'm not saying it was exactly easy. I'm saying that was my mindset. Because your mindset, the ceiling that you set around money, determines how much you make, how much you invest, and what you actually do with your money. So let's talk about it. Growing up, money wasn't exactly abundant. I distinctly remember being a young child and money feeling tight. Now, I'm not saying that I grew up poor. By all means, not at all. I grew up middle class, and my parents had what anyone would call prestigious careers. That doesn't always mean that money was a walk in the park. It was only until I was in my teenage years that everything felt a lot more comfortable. So I'm really happy about that. I don't want a story where it was a whole constant struggle throughout my whole life. Like there was a lovely journey of them becoming a lot more financially abundant. But point is, there was a time that I remember where money didn't feel abundant. Therefore, if you told teenage Mia that she'd have 100k in savings by age 24, she genuinely wouldn't have believed you because growing up in my mid to late teens, I was a total shopaholic. Fashion's always been a hobby for me. To some degrees, it was going down the typical line that many people go down, the trap of consumerism. I wanted to be a part of a group. I was very into the streetwear community. I was buying lots of expensive branded clothing with the slogan everywhere because I thought that would make me look rich. I thought that would make me cool. And I was trying to fit in. But ultimately, I ended up spending any money that I ever made from reselling or working in a gift shop. So it wasn't until around my late teens that I started to take saving seriously. There was actually a distinct moment that I was talking to one of my friends that had a job at the time and I was still in sixth form. She revealed to me anyway what her strategy was. So she told me, oh, I get paid £11 an hour and I save half of everything that I make. Now, we're talking, sixth form age, like 17 or 18. So when someone's a bit older, you can't really say that it's relatable to save half of your income because you're not living at home then. But when you're living at home, I think it's essential to be saving half of your income, depending on your situation. Maybe you have to pay rent, maybe you don't. But for most people, they don't have to pay the same rent, especially in London. This distinct memory of, okay, that's my baseline. I should be saving half of what I make. And yeah, that was my first exposure to saving. Your perception is going to be shaped by what you think is possible by opening yourself up to new opinions and beliefs. Now, I would not have got into saving if it wasn't coming across these various different points in my life. I think the same goes for saving large sums of money or growing wealth, building an audience online. As you guys know, I've built a TikTok and Instagram page and everything to a total of 200k followers across platforms within a year and made a full-time income from doing that. So therefore, all of these things have happened recently, and I feel that it wouldn't have been from all of these various steps along my journey where I was exposed to these new ideas of what was possible. So here's what happened. My first £1,000 felt huge. That was the most money that I'd ever seen collectively saved. In fact, when I got my first maintenance loan from uni, 1.4k I think it was for 3 months. That was the most money I'd ever seen. So every single time, especially if you don't come from money, you'll break certain thresholds and this will be your new standard. And while £1,000 a month is like pittance in this day and age, like at the time if you're a student, that's amazing. So you'll just on your journey, you will find different points where you're like, this is my new normal. You have to keep upping the new normal. That's why I said 100k is easy because it's not easy, but you have to make it that way. After £1,000 came £5,000 and then £10,000. £10,000 was a massive milestone. Everyone talks about 100k being the magic number to getting rich, but all of these numbers along the way are so, so important. You're not going to reach 100k without passing them. Growing up, not knowing about saving, investing, not much financial literacy, and then finally getting into saving and saving my first 1,000, £10,000, each new ceiling broke through what I thought was impossible. I didn't think that a lot of early 20 something year olds had savings. I didn't think that they had tens of thousands of savings. This also shaped my belief about growing wealth. So on my TikTok or channels, I talk a lot about retiring by 40. So when I say this, people get very upset, like, what if you die before then? Or live your life. And one, I live my life, I budget for my needs, wants, and future. And two, I don't want to be working until I'm 67. So, anyway, not to get too sidetracked, the point is the reason that I've worked out that I can retire by 40 is because I've done the maths. And am I good at maths? Absolutely not. I think I scraped a pass at GCSEs. You can use trusty ChatGPT, or you can even just work it out very simply. There is a certain number that you need so that you never have to work again. And this is called your fire number. It's seen as extreme in our day and age because it does require saving, and a lot of people think that you shouldn't save. But I think that a lot of people that I know hate their job, they hate their life. And the only escape that I can possibly see is increasing my income, doing all these things so that becoming work optional is a possibility. What this leads me on to say that because I thought that retirement was about an age instead of a number, it put me off for so long, like actually investigating it. Was it possible for me? I always thought that hitting 1 million in your savings and investments, that would only happen in your 50s or 60s. You know, we only learn from what's around us. So I'd see my parents and see how they bought a house in the 90s and it appreciated in value. And I was taking like all of these old fashioned beliefs about money that don't necessarily apply to Gen Z. And I was thinking, okay, it's going to take me decades and decades to get to 1 million. But actually, when I broke it down and I worked out how much do I need to save every month, how could I shorten that journey by increasing my income? Not necessarily by reducing my expenses, because I think that it's so much easier to increase your income. Like instead of trying to cut out £200 from my budget, I could reach out to a brand and ask to collaborate with them. So when I discovered the fire number and all of that, it was around the time that I really started to understand compound interest. And if you don't know what that is, it was coined as the eighth wonder of the world by Albert Einstein. And the reason being is because of the way it accelerates your growth of your money. It's when your money starts to make money on the money you've already made. So, in my words, it's an infinite money glitch, or the closest thing we'll have to one. So, that's why it's so important, because yes, when you're grinding away trying to save your first £1,000, it will feel hard. £5,000, £10,000, these are all things where you will be being a bit frugal, in my opinion. But after that point, it becomes a whole lot easier. Think about it, 10% of £100,000 is £10,000. £1,000 is just 100. So if you were making 10% growth year on year, you would have a lot more success if you had £100,000, because money makes money, as Benjamin Franklin once said. So that's a quick guide to compound interest. It's quite a simple concept, but it really blows your mind when you actually think about it, and how if you master your numbers, I need to save this much, or I want to achieve this in 16 years, say, then it's 100% possible. And when I was having a conversation with someone recently, and they were like, I showed them these fucking meme Instagram accounts that are making like derogatory posts about me saying that I only eat eggs and bread to save 1 million. The bit that shocks people is not the eggs and bread. By the way, I don't just eat eggs and bread. But what shocked this guy that was showing me it was he was like, wait, you want to save 1 million by 40? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, is that possible? And I was like, yeah, it's going to happen. And he was like, oh, I love your confidence. And he was probably thinking that I was being big-headed, but I wasn't. Actually, what I'm doing is I have this certainty about the numbers. I don't have the certainty that things will play out exactly that way. Like, yes, anything could happen. I don't live on the guarantee that everything, I'm not entitled in the sense that I have tomorrow. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. But what I'm trying to say with this is that when you do the numbers, you actually crunch the numbers, you realize what's possible. 100K feels completely out of reach for most people, and statistically it is. So a stat that I found recently is that 9% of working adults have 100K saved, which I don't know, seems actually quite high to me, but a lot of people would see this as a small percentage, and I would agree. Not many people do. But something that I believe is just because a statistic tells you that not many people are doing something your age, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. And I don't like to often look at not negative statistics, but you know, where it's about a minority of people doing something successfully. You could be in that minority. I think the big difference is mindset, and not the fluffy, you know, just manifest your way to wealth. I really mean that if you want to achieve something in this life, okay, I don't know your past circumstances, but I know in the next 5 to 10 years, that is not mapped out for you. You might have been stuck in a career that you hate for the last 8 years, but that doesn't mean that you can't completely change what you're doing. And no one, this is just what I love about this mindset, is no one can tell you what the next 5 years are going to look like. That is up to you, because the things that you believe and the things that you think shape your actions. I strongly believe in the law of attraction, right? Not the wishy-washy type. I really mean that if you are laser focused on a goal and you already believe it to be true, that's why I said that 100K is easy, because if I believe that, that becomes my reality. If I say that a million is easy, oh yeah, me and you haven't achieved that yet. Well, it doesn't matter, because I'm going to, because I know that it's easy. Okay, you see what I did there? I sounded so convinced of that, and then therefore it's going to become my reality. Now, people are going to drop off. They're just going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? But I'm hoping that I'm speaking to the right people here, because it takes a certain type of mind to see the world this way. So, believing that 100K is possible, your behaviors will start to shift and go towards that action. You know, for me, I work in fashion. It's not exactly the highest paying industry. And the way that I've saved is by living at home at the start. And then when I moved out, increasing my side hustle income so that I could save that. So, whatever it takes, literally whatever it takes to get there, if that's what you want, 100% you can do it. Enough blabbering about 100K. We get that it's possible now. It's possible for anyone watching this video. Here is the process that I used. Number one is reframing milestones. As I mentioned before, saying that 100K is easy is not about saying that it doesn't require a lot of sacrifice, self discipline. What it's saying is that by saying something is easy, you're saying it's achievable. You're saying that, okay, I can see myself doing this. By making the impossible possible, you're rewiring your brain to think that it's possible and therefore achieve it. Every time that you reach a threshold, your first £1,000, that is your new baseline. That is your new normal, and you should be proud of that. Number two is saving and investing. As I spoke about earlier, make your progress feel inevitable. Yes, I know there's no guarantees in life, but what I mean by this is that when your goals are a mathematical equation, how can you fail? You know exactly what you need to do. Having a goal in mind, okay, I need to do this extra thing every month to save this amount. What is that going to look like? And the easiest way is to increase your income. Number three is surround yourself with possibility. As I mentioned in my earlier story where I was asking my friend how much she saves from her paycheck, that was such an early on memory, but all of these various things along the way gave me the possibility of what was achievable. You have to open your mind to opportunities, to possibility. Surround yourself with people that inspire you. I saw a thread the other day that said, if you're the most inspiring or ambitious person in your group, you're in the wrong group. And look, I'm not all for like ditching your friends because they don't like meet up to your ambitious standards. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, you know, do some networking, reach out. If you are a fellow creator, reach out to other creators. Like, some of the best opportunities have come to me because I've taken the time to build a community, reach out to people and meet up with people, and that's been the best way, because then um you build this realm of possibility because there's people wanting the same things. Even something that I've never done is to have a mentor, or you know, even just reach out to someone very successful and ask for their advice. Number four is celebrate and track wins. Tracking your wins is key. I couldn't stress this enough. I think on when I was first getting into investing, I was like watching YouTubers like Andre Jick. I was obsessed with investing, and every single day I'd like track my portfolio. Guys, it would go up like £20 a day or something, but I was committed to tracking this, and every single month I've been tracking how much I've saved. I mean, I don't have records of before I started posting because it's silly. I didn't like write it down, but you'll see in my TikToks that I've just been writing, okay, this is how much I've saved by age 24, but the number will keep just going up because I'm tracking it. And this is something you should do in a notes app or in an Excel spreadsheet. Be like, okay, on this date I had this, and then you see the progress for yourself. Number five is adjust belief and your actions will follow. I strongly believe that proof comes after belief, not the other way around. Yes, some things in your life can happen and that can open the possibility, as I mentioned earlier. But I do think that your belief then shapes your reality and then your actions will follow suit. I don't think it's the other way around where, okay, now that I've saved 100K, I now believe that I'm good at saving because I only got to that stage because of my belief about that. So you have to believe that you're good at saving, good with money, that you can save 10K, 50K, 100K, because then the action will follow suit. And here's the part that no one wants to talk about. This whole journey took me 6+ years. And if I'd started earlier, started learning about these things earlier, I probably would have hit this goal faster because I could have created a personal brand quicker. It's only within the last year that I've, started to grow my savings fast, because before that, I think, I mean, probably you'll relate to this, but your first £1,000 or £10,000, every penny matters, and it shouldn't be that way, but it just is. Like, you are focused on budgeting and all of these things, but after that point you probably have built a skill you is high income, you can charge more for it, and therefore you're going to just increase your income, and you don't have to worry as much about the small pennies. But I do think along your journey it will be hard, but that's the part that people don't want to talk about. It takes years. A lot of people will try and sell you an overnight get rich quick scheme, but I'm not here to do that. I'm telling you, it could take you a decade, and but I think that's important. What do you want the next decade of your life to look at like? If you're 20, how's your life going to look at like at 30? People don't think that far ahead, and that's why delayed gratification is so important. Okay, so if you're thinking that saving or investing 100K is impossible, okay, you may not have done it yet. You may not even have 10K saved. But what I'm telling you is, if you believe something is possible, it can happen. I strongly believe that if you are dedicated, you want to do something, it's possible for you. So the only thing that's standing in your way is the ceiling that you've set for yourself. Once you raise it, that's when the unlimited possibilities happen. This one was a bit more of a rambly video. I'm not sure what you think of it, but it was based on 1,000 words that I wrote. And this is a habit that I'm trying to do every single day. I'll be interested to see how this video does compared to my other ones. I'm still trying to crack the code of YouTube. It's different game to short form, but yeah, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe. And every single video I'm trying to improve. I'm taking on board all of your feedback. I reply to every single comment, so I really appreciate the support, and thank you for watching.